So we have the need to wonder, the need to solve, the need to express. We have the need to be authentic. We have the need to matter. Everybody needs to know, and it needs to have the need fulfilled to matter in life and to find value in things and determine the value of things. We have the need to move our bodies and process our vitality and our creative energy for doing and building and creating. We have a need to emote. Everybody has the need to show their feelings and to process feelings and to experience feelings to one degree or another. We're built differently in how we do that. Everybody has the need to feel safe. We all come with an apparatus in our bodies for processing fear, processing threats to our environment, processing the sensations of happening around us. And that lives in our body too, in what is called our splenic center. We also have the need to rest, which also includes the need to understand when it's time to get up and go. Okay, so that's a little intro into all 9, but let's talk about this need to solve. The need to solve problems is our drive to find answers. Every person, every child is born with an ajna center, or this need to process the energy of solving problems, arriving at solutions, coming up with answers, solving mysteries, cracking the code, reasoning through, logicking through to come up with a acceptable belief, an opinion that you can rely on, that sticks for you. But the way in which we're wired to do that is vast, right? Everybody has their own kind of methodology. Or, if you think about how to solve a math problem, 2 + 2, like a lot of people would say there's like only one way to do that, right? You put 2 here and 2 here and you got to get 4. That's it. However, there are some people who have a different way of arriving at that problem, or lots of different ways of arriving at that solution, excuse me. We have 2 main ways that we're wired, okay? And there are shades in between, but the 2 main ways that people, i.e. children and you and everybody, our grandparents and presidential candidates, everyone in the whole wide world, is wired to solve problems from either a fixed energy resource or a flexible energy resource. We'll start with the fixed energy resource. What is this? These are the kids, and maybe you'll see this or hear this and know it about yourself, depending on how you solve problems. You can discover, are you fixed? If you're fixed in your problem-solving perspective, energetic processing method, you're the second triangle down on your human design chart is going to be colored in the way that this one on this chart, this graph is, okay? That second triangle down that I have circled in big green is dark. It could be orange or it could be dark blue. Either way, if it's not blank, then it's fixed, okay? The fixed problem solver has consistent, reliable, fixed energy for coming at problems and arriving at solutions. Sounds pretty straightforward. This is the child who has an answer for everything. They are the child who might be the one that shoots their hand up first in class when the teacher asks a question. They may blurt out an answer because they have that apparatus for problem solving is forcefully flowing through them at all times. It's, as I say, it's on and cracking. It is an impulse to find the answer and be done with it. There's a pressure involved. It's pushing down from above to find a belief or an answer or a opinion that's going to stick, that actually really works. These kids can sort of have a little bit of tunnel vision, but that's okay. It's perfectly natural. This is a great way to live through life. You're very logical. You're very visually oriented. You have a go-to process for the way that you approach problem solving. And that's great. But they can, kids that have this feature can get kind of stuck in seeing things just one way. They may need you, mom and dad, to help them even recognize. They may not recognize that, like, the other kids in their class are puzzling through things from a totally different perspective. And so they can just, it can be very jarring to understand that, like, oh, wait a second, what do you mean you don't know the answer, or you don't have an answer? Sometimes these kids just blurt it out even though they're wrong, because it's so important to them, and the energy for having some kind of an explanation is so strong within them. This is wait, I gotta double check my stats here, but I can give you, this is about a half and half of the population. 51% of the global population are said to have a fixed need to solve problems in this fixed kind of way. Doesn't mean they have a fixed mindset, right? Like, we often hear about that difference between fixed mindset or growth mindset. And I don't want to get tripped up here on that, because I want to be careful about my words. It's more about having a reliable and consistent go-to approach to problem solving and to answering questions, than it is so much about fixed. Like, you can have a growth mindset, but also have this fixed need to solve problems. Let me give you the difference before I get into the different parenting strategies for approaching a kid who has fixed versus flexible. Okay, now here's the flexible example. Again, it's the Ajna Center. And here, with it being flexible, you're going to see that it's left white or blank. There's a couple of numbers lit up in there. And this makes it undefined. But generally speaking, this person does not have a fixed, consistent, reliable methodology for solving problems. Rather, they're flexible. Dang it. Gah. Okay. It's just playing games with me now. The flexible problem solver, different from the fixed problem solver. Here's a question, oof, and they can see 1,000 different roads to solving it. If they're in a crowded room, they're picking up on the ideas, beliefs, opinions, answers, methodologies from everybody else in the room. I'm not trying to suggest that they're like psychic, but in a way, they are. Everybody is psychic to one degree or another. And each of these 9 core needs is a conduit for psychic energy. I mean, if it's any of these that are left white or blank, that is an opening where you're reading other people's energy. End of story. So with the flexible or open ability to solve problems, it's not better than fixed. Fixed isn't better than flexible. It simply means that you have a gift of your internal apparatus for problem solving is meant to be used in a very flexible, flowing way. It's unreliable because it depends who else is in the room and what the question is and what the conditions of where you are. You're absorbing and then amplifying outward all the other problem solving methodologies and ways of analyzing through a problem and puzzling through stuff. You're putting that outward then. And so it comes to you and it can be very destabilizing. It can make you question, oh, I don't know what's right. It can require you to have, or require the child to have the need for extra time to really sit with all of the different things that they're picking up on, and to be able to, sorry, I just got distracted. It's so distracting. I have flexible thinking here. And this is what I'm trying to get to next, is that they're also taking in sounds and conditions of their environment a lot more, where that fixed thinker is able to focus more on the problem at hand. I have a puzzle I need to solve. Let's solve this thing. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's focus on this. They'll put their, like, they can almost be, the fixed solver can almost be like a dog with a bone. Like, I have this thing in front of me and this isn't what I need to solve now. But the flexible solver is like, well, wait a second. I'm also taking in the energy of this over here. And I notice this over here. And the sun is also shining. And that dog is barking. And the lawnmower is going outside. And the garbage truck is just passing by. And my teacher seems to be having a bad day. And they're taking all of this and amplifying it into themselves. And they can become very confused. At this point in our discussion, you may be starting to have questions about ADHD. I am not an expert in that. If you have concerns that your child may have attention deficit hyperactive disorder, or whatever the hell they're calling it now, I suggest you go see the doctor or whoever is an expert in that. I am not. I simply present this to let you know that there is not just an explanation for a child who may be overwhelmed by stimuli, not just an explanation for it, but that there's a healthy, purposeful reason for them to have this. Why would they be born with this? Why would they have this trait? It's a gift. Both are gifts. Both are superpowers. Both can be used in extraordinarily high, good for the best of all kind of ways. But when we're not aware of it, and when our children don't know they have this superpower in this particular way, that's when they can develop shame and low confidence and low self-esteem and self-doubt. When the teacher calls or asks a question and the fixed thinker shoots their hand up or blurts out an answer without being called on, that teacher may really, really like that kid. First of all, like the quick answerers. Oh, good job, Johnny. What a good student. Oh, he's always there to answer my questions. Because one of the things teachers hate most is being ignored and to not have a kid engaged. It is very gratifying, and it provides a mirror and a sort of I know this because I was a teacher. A kid who's spaced out and zoning out holds a mirror up to the teacher to say, boy, are you boring. But a kid who is right there on fire, ready to answer, like, oh, great job. You tell me that you're engaged. I am engaging you. I must be interesting. I am a good teacher. And the child that is zoning out because they're distracted by everybody else is shooting their hands up and they're overwhelmed and they're not sure what the answer is, so they're going to look out the window. That teacher says, yeah, we're having a problem. They're not really paying attention. They're not really answering questions. And when I ask them, it seems like they don't know. And it's when you see it through this lens, I hope, it becomes obvious what the problem is. There's no problem. And B, this kid is being prevented, the flexible thinker is being prevented from, or is not being given the tools, the time that they need to process. They don't have the awareness that they're meant to be the person in the room who sees things from many different perspectives, and that's a gift in and of itself. They may not be encouraged to say, hey, you have a unique way of seeing things. What are you seeing in your mind's eye right now? What are you picking up? What other creative ways of solving this problem are possible? How many teachers ask that question? Maybe a few. I know a few really great ones. But how many teachers are more likely to say, no, that's wrong. Well, the good try, but that's not the answer I was looking for. That might be something you hear more and more these days. I think a lot of teachers are making an effort to be inclusive and to be sensitive to all learning styles. So I do want to this is not a teacher bashing thing. This is kind of more of like the system of like this, just the system of like having 30 kids in a room and expecting to bang through lessons and to get through these curricula that are just written by corporations. I have so many problems with the way I think teachers really are hamstrung, and they have to cope, and it is such a hard job. It is such a hard job. That's why I didn't stay doing it. It is too stressful for me. Whoa, too many people in one room. My flexible mind was just too overstimulated and too overwhelmed. Too many little children needed my attention one-on-one too much of the time. I was drained. So props to all the teachers out there. So we have the flexible minded kid who begins to, if their only coping mechanism is to space out and to not answer and to be shy, because and then they're not certain what the answer might possibly be, and so they just, I'm gonna let Johnny over there, who's always shooting his hand up, I'm gonna let him take this one. I'm not going into that minefield. I have no idea. I'll probably sound stupid if I say an answer that I think it might be, because it's probably going to be wrong. But they don't know. Like their idea might be so unique. It might be a perspective worth sharing. God, we need differently minded thinkers in this world today. So if that child is not empowered to look at their style of thinking from this place of strength, then all the low confidence sets in, and the doubt of my intelligence sets in, and I believe I'm not a good thinker, and I'm not smart, and I can't answer math problems, or I'm not good at this, or whatever. It goes on and on and on, and that just snowballs as they get older. You know where that goes. I mean, I'm sure this is familiar and accessible to you. But what about this fixed thinker? I mean, yes, sure that they are routinely rewarded for being the good little question answerer and being willing to take a shot. However, the kid who doesn't wait for their classmates or doesn't wait to be called on because they're so excited about blurting out an answer, they get punished too. Teachers don't really, they don't like that either, because you have to wait your turn, you have to be polite, you have to follow the rules. We can't just have a classroom full of kids who are shouting things out. That creates chaos, and it overpowers the kids who are still thinking. And so I know that I did this. I mean, I really, I'm guilty of having done this when I was a teacher. Please stop shouting the answer out. Give the other kids a turn. What does that do? What does that do to poor little Johnny, who's so engaged and so fueled with the energy to answer a question? Makes him doubt himself. Oh, I'm a bad person. I can't follow rules. I'm ashamed of myself. I want the teacher to like me. I thought the teacher liked me because I gave good answers and because I was willing to shout it out. Oh, I was wrong. I better shut up. My answers aren't good. Or if they're the kind of kid that routinely just answers something because they're fueled to answer, but they're wrong, then they're prone to developing the self-doubt of like, oh, I'm stupid. My answers are wrong. Or another scenario, they have this sort of fixed way of perceiving a problem, and they can't get outside of it, they seem stubborn. They seem hard-headed to you, mom and dad. They can't get past their own urgent answer to see that, like, maybe other people. Whether it's a math problem or a friend problem or a what to wear problem, hey, I have two tweens who are, God, Gen Alpha is so into the freaking fashion. And when there's the fall dance, ugh, there's just, wardrobe issues. Um, Whether to invite a particular friend to the birthday party. They might get like that dog with a bone. They only see it from one perspective. Um, or they're just totally overwhelmed. So there's ways of helping these kids either way, whether they're fixed or flexible in this regard. To seeing things from a new way, to developing empowerment over the unique way that they are built, to not develop shame for the way that they are wired, and to revere and celebrate both ways of thinking. And I think it's really, really enlightening and reassuring and compassion building when a kid can recognize, because of you, parent, when you can teach your kid that, oh my God, other people are different. Other people have different ways of thinking than you do. Holy crap, the light bulb goes on, and suddenly there is a recognition for the other's uniqueness. And this is something that I think is really missing from our dialogue today. And what I think that we can change. We can be the leverage that moves the way that we think, that way that now we have this tribalism and we have this country that is completely divided. We feel like we're living in bizarro world because we just don't even haven't been recognizing that some people think a whole different way. They can develop a belief system or opinions based on a viewpoint that works for them, and they'll stick to it. And I'm not suggesting that, half of American voters have a fixed need to solve, and the other half who voted for a different candidate have a different way of flexible solve. But we can it's an example of saying, some of us arrive at opinions and beliefs in a certain kind of way, and that they just work for us. And others of us are maybe a little bit more susceptible or influenceable or manipulable or controllable in the way that we think. And we will take on the beliefs of others and say, okay, well, I guess that's right. I don't really have another idea. I don't have a better idea. So maybe I'll just think the way my husband thinks or whatever. So this is early intervention here, I think, has a lifetime of value. And this is why I'm so passionate about this. So let's get you some strategies for whether your kid is a fixed solver or a flexible solver, because they're going to solve problems through their lifetime one way or another. And it depends on whether they're going to do it from within their self and what's right for them, or whether they're going to be led to believe that somebody else's way of solving problems must be right. Don't think for myself. So let's help our kids think for themselves with confidence. All right. If your child is fixed here in their need to solve, honor their ability to answer questions and to solve puzzles and to problem solve through things, but gently remind them, wow, some kids need more time than that, and that's okay too. So let's make sure our friends are having enough time that they need to solve through their problems. These kids will benefit with the fixed need to solve. These kids are going to benefit from being encouraged to pause, double think, don't shout out because teachers don't love that. And this is depending on their age. This is hard to do for 4-year-olds in pre-K. That they can learn it. They did learn it, but it's hard. The earlier, the harder, and as they're older, but unless they've developed bad habits and that they're just a shouter outer no matter what. But they'll benefit if they're taught pausing to make sure they're right. They might just blurt it out, even though they haven't really thought it through. It just came to them and it was weird and it was funny, or it got people to laugh and they liked that feedback. So we are talking about the influences of the room too, the culture of the room, whether it's the classroom or the culture that the teacher sort of cultivates, or if we're talking about in your family life, pausing and just feeling like going through the body and saying, does that feel right? Does that feel right? Okay. The filter, it's developing that filter. Is this going to offend somebody? How can I say this in a graceful way? Those are things you're going to sort of ask them as they get older. When these kids get really frustrated because that fixed way of computing or calculating or reasoning through their problem is becoming extraordinarily frustrating and it isn't working, then you might see tears. You might see I'm not laughing because it's funny that they cry. I'm laughing because I have a visceral memory of my long division, the paper that I was working on, long division in 3rd grade. What was soaked by tears, and when you try to erase, you use your pencil to erase the what you did wrong, it just rips when it's wet with tears. That's what I'm laughing at myself because I could not grasp that process. I needed, when my dad, who's got fixed thinking here, he's so good at math. And my mom, I don't remember what she has, but she's just way more of a wordsmith, and that's what I am. And so she's just got all these like creative solutions, and she came up with like a funny rhyme. That's what helped my brain like figure out how to do the division. It wasn't because my dad was like, well, you do this and you carry the 1 and you drop it down and you move the thing. It was the rhyming and the different outside the box kind of thinking that helped me get it. So you got to be creative with the flexible thinkers, but we're not there yet. Fixed thinkers. Yeah, they can be convinced that there's only one way to solve a problem. So maybe introduce them regularly to different problem solving approaches and tell them, oh my gosh, have you ever heard of something like this? These could be little mansplainers too, whether they're boys, girls, or anything in between. This is like I mean, use that term kind of lightly as a joke, but these kids are like, they want to tell you all the stuff that they understand and that they know and they have answers to. And so it may require your patience to just sit and listen, and because they really are fueled to express their problem solving and their solutions and their answers and their opinions. Let them know that sometimes it's useful to wait to be invited to share those opinions and those beliefs. And you can help them understand that, like, wow, you really have such cool insight and you really are articulate. You have such a great way of thinking about things and expressing the things that you know. Thank you for telling me that cool thing. An example is my son, who's 11. He has been on a jag lately to get a fish tank. And so my husband he thinks that's a pretty cool project and it's very sciencey, and it's not a screen, and so they've gone all in and they've been preparing for this. There's a lot involved, and so my husband said, I'm going to leave it up to you to do the research, son, to tell us like what we need and what are the steps involved and like how do we make a fish tank work. We got a fish tank secondhand, passed down to us, and so it was just sitting there empty. And my son just got he he put his fixed thinking, problem solving gifts to work, and he has read, I can't tell you how many books about, and various types of fish. And so he ran through it's up and running, but the fish aren't in there yet. They're doing climatizing the water and the plants or something in there. And he gave me a tutorial yesterday that I did not ask for. Now he is in human design terms, he's a projector, so he's also built to project this energy of like what he sees and the big vision, and to tell people about his expertise that adds to this. But a lot of projectors will have the fixed need to solve. So anyway, I had to just kind of, as the parent, tolerate that. I didn't ask for it. I was like, ugh, what a snooze fest. I don't really care about I'm going to trust that you and your dad are going to feed these fish and clean that tank. I don't really care. It's lovely. It's beautiful to look at. Not my problem though. But as the parent, I'm not going to say that to my kid. I'm not going to turn them away, because I want him to be empowered, because I want him to have confidence and say like if you guys ever have a curiosity about a fish tank, you can ask my kid. He's so knowledgeable about this shit because he cares, and he went and did the research, and he put his time and effort into solving this problem. It's not a problem, but he just wants all the solutions. And so go for it. Like, nerd out on that stuff, guys. Like, you just wave your freak flag and enjoy the hell out of that fish tank. And I will sit here and listen because I really admire it. But IRL, when you go out with your friends, you might want to let them know, like, oh, I've done a ton of research. I know a lot of stuff about that. But not everybody's going to want to know about your like wild addiction to fish tanks. I actually when I moved to in my 20s, I moved to San Diego for a summer, and wild summer of like living on the beach and blah, crazy. And there was a guy that was like he became a friend, and he asked me, I don't know, it wasn't a date, but it was a friend to hang out. I didn't know anybody. And so it was in like another server at the restaurant that I worked at. And so he was like, I'll take you to SeaWorld, right? SeaWorld's in Seattle or in San Diego. Seattle was a few years later, but I'll take you to SeaWorld. And so he took me to SeaWorld for the day, and it was like my son. I mean, like it reminds me of like, I just was like, oh my God, I was calling him Aquaman because he just brought me to every fucking tank and like just wouldn't stop talking about the amazing fish inside. And I was like, oh, I did not know that I was going on like a deep sea adventure through the glass with this freaking Aquaman obsessed weirdo. Lovely guy, but like I didn't ask for that, didn't care about it, and he would have done himself a service if he had recognized that there are other people out there in the world may not be as fixed on this insight as he was. But hell, I tell you what, if he met my son, the two of them could just geek out together on that. Yeah, other people's opinions matter too. When there's a friendship problem, and they can't see eye to eye, they just can't see why their friend would be so mean or do something or think about something in some certain way. It's really important to help them see, to sort of maybe spitball, brainstorm, free associate, and brainstorm about some other ways about like, well, maybe your friend sees it like this, maybe your friend sees it like that. And the more you do that, the more this child can come around to saying, okay, all right, at least I recognize that maybe I have a certain way of thinking about things and maybe that other person doesn't. I don't understand their point of view, but I do understand that it's going to be different from mine. And then we develop better communication skills. We develop an ability to build compassion for one another. And this is what we want for your kids, so that they have that relationship with their siblings, because this is going to be different from all family members. They're going to be different. I really, really do encourage you to look up everybody in the family and get that free energy blueprint, because you just look at that second square. or I'm sorry, the second triangle. I know my shapes. I know my shapes. People who have fixed problem solving mindset, Stephen Hawking, okay? Like processors, like great processors and thinkers who answer shit. Tiger Woods, visually oriented, mind body connection, line that putt right up with the hole, whatever, like brilliance. Will Ferrell, quick to say whatever's on his mind. Boom, genius, right? Zip out those zingers. He was probably, I bet his teachers thought he was a real pain in the ass because he was probably just shouting out and being funny and making the class roar. Lionel Messi, total, yeah, fixed processing and conceptualization techniques. Like the dude is on fire. You cannot get a ball into the net from so far away, from upside down, and all of these amazing things that he does without that perception and that ability to focus. So this is brilliant. And you know, I don't know those people personally, obviously. I don't know their private life personalities, but it does lend itself to great success. And the part of the body we're talking about is the pituitary gland. And I always am good for a quote. I love great quotes. And I thought that this one that I chose from John Steinbeck to represent the mindset of the person with a fixed need to solve was just totally spot on. And that is, an answer is invariably the parent of a great family of new questions. So this is somebody who answers one question and just keeps exploring new topics, exploring new ways they can answer more questions. Okay. And then the flexible mindset, need to solve strategies for the parent is for this kid who's taken it all in and processing, they need more time. Let this kid have more time to solve. They will benefit from being empowered to recognize what a cool gift it is to be taking in and taking on other people's ideas, that it is a gift to be able to see so many different perspectives. It's empowering to learn that they are not here to be stuck with any one particular way of seeing the world throughout their lifetimes, that it's okay to shift your opinions and your beliefs, that it is people like them that we need to say, oh, I can see where you're coming from with that. Oh, I can see where you're coming from too. Yeah, that's a really interesting way of looking at it. Okay, cool. Thanks. I'll think about it. These kids are going to be really, it's going to be so important for you to teach them that saying, I don't know, when they don't know is okay, and to be confident about it. Tell their teachers. Tell their teachers that these are flexible thinkers and that they're absorbing everything in the room, including that bell that rings. My kids have a class where they share a high school, so their middle school shares the high school, and whoever is in charge of ringing the bell to let them, they're on different schedules. They're like staggered schedules. So all throughout every single class, bells are ringing. The early bell, the late bell, the almost late bell, and then the end of class. Oh, class is over for high school. Oh, the next class is starting for high school. They've got 6 bells ringing throughout their 40-minute time slot of class at intermittent intervals. Talk about a recipe for distraction. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. But tell the teacher that, you know, this kid is really flexible, gonna need a little extra time to process. They're probably gonna be feeling anxious if you call on them and expect them to answer right away. But also, you need to invite in their different perspectives. This kid is processing lots of different ways, and they're gonna see a different avenue to reaching the same conclusion. It might be really creative. It might be offbeat. It might not be the exact road you're looking for, but they're going to arrive there if you give them enough time. And if they have the confidence to say, shoot, I don't know. I really don't know. Another example about my children, that at parent teacher conferences that we had recently, they were both the teachers for both of my children. I was so proud of this, the most proud I was about anything. They teachers remarked to me that both of my kids were comfortable saying when they don't know something, comfortable coming to the teacher when they needed help with a particular issue. My daughter's starting algebra this year. She's overwhelmed. She has flexible thinking. My son, as I said, does not. I fully expect, and because I know this about this kid, he's very in touch with, wants to talk about what he knows and what he doesn't know. And he wants to solve it if he doesn't know it. So he's going to go after and find the resources to solve that problem. But she is more open here, and she is prone to developing this worry about, like, oh my God, I don't know the answer, therefore I'm a failure. But I feel like I must be doing something right. And I've been teaching her this stuff about her gift of being able to see things from different perspectives. And it's okay to, if you get to the right answer, what's the difference? You know, there's no problem that she's learning to value her mental processing chops, even though they might be a little offbeat, or they might not be standard, or they're more creative. She's learning to value that about herself. And so she has confidence to go to the teacher and say, I don't get it. You're going to need to teach me this better. I don't know. I don't get it. Yeah. Can you sit with me and work with me on this? And that they do, and she's getting it. And then she feels like a freaking badass when she solves that problem finally after working on it for so long. Tell the teachers, don't expect the flexible solver to stick to the same opinions or beliefs. This may be important as they grow older, especially into teenagerhood. These kids may be more prone to peer pressure type things. But all the kids are doing it. All the kids are saying this and thinking this is right. So I got to do that too. Or when they're getting ready to vote or something, they might shift parties. They might not be what you want them to be. Anybody in any condition, flexible or fixed, can certainly shift their thinking and their mindset. But the people who are flexible here are more likely to go back and forth, because they do see benefits to all different sides of different stories. Choose your own adventure books are great for this, or I have to find out and see if I know that they're still producing those, but different books that have different outcomes or different ways of solving problems, where the characters go through and sort through the issues in different ways, is really empowering for these kids. When they're faced with someone who insists that they're right, this kid may start to, their confidence might crumble. They might feel like they start second guessing themselves. Remind them that they're people who are here to listen and process, and that they can be a mirror, and that they can hold space. I hate that phrase, but that they can hold space for someone who's bouncing their ideas off. They can think of someone who's mansplaining at them as like, well, this person's processing their ideas out loud. They're processing their answers out loud, and I don't have to take them in. This is where boundary setting really becomes helpful for kids with flexibility here or anywhere in their bodies. A flexible resource of energy to solve, really, really build a shield, help these kids build a shield around themselves that says, well, hey, I hear your idea. I hear your answer. Doesn't necessarily mean it's mine. They can start to believe that they came up with something on their own, where really they were exposed to someone's new idea that got them thinking about something and maybe convinced them to think it was right. But it's always helpful for them to go back into their own brain and their own mind, because it's not that they have nothing going on in there unless there's other people in the room. They do have their own thoughts and their own way of puzzling through life. It's just flexible. It's just they can use lots of different methods. They can use lots of different systems for analyzing stuff. They're not going to be wedded to one particular way of arriving at the answer. Yeah, remind them that they have a superpower, that they can be considerate and compassionate and understanding, that different people are just sometimes really, really wedded to their beliefs, and that it's okay for them to not be. It's okay for them. There's no need to second guess whether their way, if they feel like, well, I'm just like I'm not that worried about this particular belief, or I don't care about solving that problem so much. It doesn't seem like a problem to me to solve. There's nothing wrong with that. We can often second guess ourselves with flexibility here to say like, I don't really feel particularly motivated to solve this as a problem. So like, what's the point? That's okay. And it's hard to do homework that way, but so it might just require like refocusing, constantly regrouping, quiet. These kids might benefit from some soundscapes or background white noise to sort of help drown out the other noise of whatever else is going on, but they may be uniquely prone to distraction. So just keep that in mind, and that's okay. Like, it's okay. Maybe maybe the universe meant for them to be taking this in because it's a superpower. But for them to know what's really important in their own heart and what's right for them, they can always rely on their body's decision-making power, which you have in your free energy blueprint. So there's a decision-making life hack that you got to look on that first free report that I got you. That's a PDF that came when you first plugged in their birth details. That there's a decision-making life hack in there, and it's going to teach you what that is. So if the mind isn't producing results because it's full of chatter, it's full of, oh, I need to produce evidence, I need to have facts, I need somebody to back me up here. Maybe logic is not the way to get through every one of life's problems. And so there's just something called authority in human design, and I call it your decision-making life hack. And you know what that is already for free because I gave it to you. So that's what, get out of the mind and get into the body part, the apparatus in you, the chakra center that is in charge of all the others in your body to help you make decisions in life. You can work on that with your kid. And if you want to help for specific ways of doing that with your unique child, depending on all the other configuration of all the other numbers and swirls and lines and shapes on their chart, that's what I do with parents one-on-one in consulting coaching sessions. Okay. Famous people who you will probably know and respect, who have flexible solving problem perspective in life. Albert Einstein, second time to mention him. Wow, what a thinker. Always open to finding answers in a different way than anybody else ever thought of before. Meryl Streep, the most God-given, worship-worthy actor of our time, one of. Tom Brady, I don't know anything about football, but it seems to me he's got a big vision. Maybe he's got to be able to see every player that's going on at the same time on the field. Elon Musk, I don't know, maybe I retract the statement of somebody you might respect. I don't necessarily fully respect him, but he sure has some open-minded thinking here. He approaches problems in a very creative, outside the box kind of way. Ryan Reynolds. Everybody loves, my daughter in particular loves Ryan Reynolds. He's so funny and so charming and so endearing. And I don't know him from a cake of soap, as my mother would say, but love his movies. He's a great actor. He's very comedic timing. Might be, maybe he has great confidence in his ability to see things from a different perspective and see what needs to be answered in the moment. Okay. And finally, I'll close this discussion with a great quote that encapsulates. I almost said encapsulizes. I need to shut up. Encapsulates the perspective of someone who has this flexible problem-solving asset. And that is, this isn't, I don't know who said this. I don't know who said this. I found it online, but it strikes a chord with this mindset. Open-minded people don't care to be right. That's what flexible thinkers say. They care to understand. There's never a right or wrong answer. Everything is about understanding. It's just about understanding. See all the ways. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. I'm going to stop sharing. And I invite you to continue this journey with me and come back for the next episode, if you will, or the next course module, if I call it that. I'm going to be placing these audio and video recordings under lock and key on my website. If you choose to participate and you want to come in and get access to the library of recordings, then I will put a registration page up. I will put a I don't know, whatever shopping cart thing in there, and you can gain access and you will get the passcode, your unique passcode to access that material. And I really, really, really look forward to continuing this discussion and delivering these insights. If you wish to have one-on-one consultation, your purchase of the 9 Core Needs Report comes with a 15-minute one-on-one private consult where you can ask me anything about your child. We can discuss the role they came to play, their body's decision-making life hack. We can discuss the more finer point themes that come within their 9 core needs. So for example, if you follow along to the Daily Vibe, I publish a Substack where I talk about the different energies that are influencing us specifically day by day. It's like an energy forecast called the Daily Vibe. If you're following along there, those are the gates in human design. I cover the gates and the lines of the energies. So if you're looking at the shapes on that chart where the little body outline is, you'll see numbers within each of those shapes, and each number represents a unique and particular specific energetic trait within that larger umbrella. So when we're talking about the core need to solve a problem, the specific themes are, for example, having spontaneous breakthroughs, where they're about answers and having a youthful approach to engaging with possibilities. They are having realizations and epiphanies. It's about visual thinking, and it's about auditory thinking, learning, and a lot of other. So that's where you see in the box on the deck, you'll see the themes. There are specific themes relative that go under the finer, under the larger umbrella of each core need. So there are specific themes. We can talk about those, which ones are illuminated in your child or not, and what that means in the greater scheme of their whole energy blueprint. Whatever issues come up for you, I offer a free 15-minute consult, so please take advantage of that. You have access to my calendar inside this and inside the report, so please, please, please make good use of it. And then if you want to have some one-on-one coaching, I would love to work with you. I would love to have you on the other side of this screen or in person if you're close, and we can talk about these issues specifically as they relate to your whole family dynamics. If there's one child that has a particular trait that the rest of the family members just don't understand and are having a hard time working with, that is where I really feel like my expertise is coming in, because there's so much to explain to remove the confusion and remove the mystery of it all, so that you guys can connect on a more meaningful, deeper level. And that is my goal. Help these kids build confidence, help them thrive in this lifetime, help them reach their highest potential, help them so they don't have to waste 40 years in shame and low self-worth missing the opportunities that their energy is here to work for them. Use it for all it's got. And I'd love to work with you as a parent, as if you just want help as a parent, one-on-one, to be the best parent you can be. Reach out. I'll give you I'll give you the best I can give you, because you're a divine being who's here to do great, great, great things. Everybody is. So I want to show you that. Okay. Great to have you here today. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.